Alright, so Jeff Bezos decided to give $98.5 million to 32 different charitable organizations in an effort to help the homeless, and just like clockwork, Statists begin complaining, saying he only gave a small percentage of his wealth. Now, first of all, and most importantly, anyone who complains about this only shows themselves to be almost otherworldly in how embittered, entitled, childish, and thankless they are. And if they want to talk about percentages, okay, how about the fact that if you were to combine all the donations given by the people who are complaining, they would likely be a small percentage of the raw number of dollars that Jeff Bezos has just given. So I repeat, how childish, grumbling, and sour do you need to be to complain about this? And how incapable of thinking in more than one way do you need to be in order to complain about this? Because it's unbelievable. Because then they start throwing out these examples that if you were worth $100,000, this would be like giving $100. So no headlines for you, this is a pittance. Okay, one small thing real quick, aside from the percentages, there is an astronomical difference between $100 and $98,500,000. So despite them being the same percentage of 100,000 and 100 billion respectively, I think it's fair to point out that there is a bit of a difference between $100 and almost $100 million. Another thing to point out, of course, is that if you are worth $100,000, that does not mean that you necessarily have $100,000 at your disposal. You likely own a car or a home or a lawnmower, or maybe you own a business and you own a computer and some tools. You have a lot of assets that comprise that $100,000. It does not mean that you have $100,000 to put to direct use. You could be worth $100,000 and only have $2,000 in your bank account. In much the same way, if Jeff Bezos is worth $100 billion, that does not mean that he could put together a pile of $100 billion in cash by the end of the day. That $100 billion is tied up in a whole litany of different ventures and investments. He does not have a bank account with $100 billion in it, nor does it mean he makes $100 billion a year, as the example this guy named Eat the Rich seemed to suggest, in which they said if you made $50,000 a year, this would be like giving away $45. Okay, if you make $50K a year, are you trying to say that Jeff Bezos makes $100 billion a year? He's actually made only about $82,000 a year for about 2 decades. His net worth has skyrocketed because what he owns has appreciated to a huge magnitude. And why did this happen, by the way? Because what he began, what he organized, what he put together, the idea that he implemented was so highly valued by such a large segment of society that they voluntarily gave money to his organization to receive the products, services, and conveniences that it was offering. You know, society, that thing you seem to be very concerned with, well, it's odd that you hate and want to punish the person who started something that masses of individuals within society has deemed highly valuable. It's the ultimate hypocrisy, frankly, and this entire thing just illustrates again that these people don't care about the poor, they simply hate the rich. Why would you demean and bemoan $100 million going to help the needy? They don't want to even recognize that this is a wonderful act. They simply use it for an unbelievably childish opportunity to denigrate the guy who gives that money away because he's rich. They hate the fact that it was a private individual privately giving away his money. It's somewhat reminiscent of when AOC criticized the fact that people give money to others through GoFundMe to help them pay for their healthcare costs. Of course, somehow when it's private individuals freely departing from their money to help someone else, this is grounds for criticism. But when it's government taking money by force, filtering it through layer upon layer of bureaucracy and red tape, and then having a much smaller percentage of the money that went in coming out the other side, this is supposed to be praised. Honestly, it becomes too obvious. How crystal clear does it need to be that these people are a lot less concerned with helping people and far more concerned with how they can further extract wealth from others and grow an even more monstrous state? Private individuals voluntarily helping others out is to be regarded as pitiful or as a sign of economic decay, whereas a gargantuan government with an army of bureaucrats handing out breadcrumbs it stole from productive capacities is supposed to be applauded. It is just too obvious. But that is it for now. Please like, subscribe, share, and have a good one.